Welcome to an incomplete guide to personal growth. We invite you to take a breath and take a listen to our podcast that explores the wonder, humor, challenges, and sometimes those self-inflicted wounds on the journey of personal growth.
Our weekly podcast conversations include stories, resources, and tools that you can incorporate into your daily life. We're the mother-daughter duo of Sydney West
and Kelly Arundel. Hey, Sydney.
Hey, Mom. How are you?
Taking a breath. Good. I'm doing good.
Yes.
Really humid this morning.
Oh
but
my gosh.
had a good outing anyway. A run or whatever
June,
I did.
July, and then
August, you
it's
name
just
it.
hot
It's through October at least here in San Antonio. It is hot.
That is true.
So we're just...
Ugh.
Anyway,
it's
it was
been
a humid day.
Yeah.
We're getting humid.
Gross.
So I get more and more kicks out of you youngins. No, I'm just kidding. Out of people. No, I was reading in the paper about Venmo and how it's straining relationships or friendships.
Straining relationships.
Yes, because people will get all of a sudden a request for money from a friend that they didn't know they owed. Like this one guy, he had something with his abdominal pain that was excruciating, and so his roommate took him
to the hospital.
Yeah, got a zip car and got him to the hospital. Yeah. He had emergency surgery, and a few days later, he received a bill for $4 from Venmo, a request from Venmo for $4 for the ride.
$4,
and it just really. Yeah.
Oh, that would so irk me.
And so people are getting everything from, $3 coffee ones to $60 movie tickets.
Yeah.
You get that.
Yeah,
but it's just, if you didn't expect it and it comes, then it's kind of this.
And then it's almost like you get that and you're like, well, friends are supposed to do things for friends.
Well, and $4.
I mean, come on.
And this guy had a lot more money than the other.
Really? Even
the guy that had the surgery. So it's just an interesting.
Petty. See, I haven't ever sent a request or really gotten one on Venmo. For me, I think because I pay pretty quickly if I need to.
Right. I try to do that too.
Yeah, I've never gotten but I mean, I'm sure you can. And I bet, that would
It's just that little irritating thing. And
I
was reading one, just kept getting a reminder, and that made him not want to pay. So
see, and I agree. It's fine sending one if it's been, a few days and you're like, well, okay, I really could use some of this money back. Right. Then I get sending a reminder. But you can get excessive. Yeah. Oh, no.
So it's just interesting. I thought, okay, things I never thought about, but is out there.
Even me.
And so those
I could see that.
Those two aren't friends anymore. The one that sent the $4 request for a zip card.
I wouldn't think so, especially for an emergency.
Less than a 10-minute ride.
Yeah, please. Oh, my gosh.
Anyway.
Okay, so now I got to watch out if there are people out there.
Maybe you have a Venmo.
Yeah, if you have some juicy
I don't
Venmo.
know what they call it, but it's not a stalker, but
No, an incessant Venmo requester.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go. Isn't that funny? Yeah.
That is so, I can see that straining relationships.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this week, kind of wrapping up our letting go of control, our theme for this month. So kind of getting more into what spirituality might tell us about letting go, because that is a part, for us at least, of personal growth. And so can you just outline real quick, what you want to touch on so we stay a little bit on topic?
Well, because we have talked about, that wasn't what I planned.
Yes.
Or I have to let go of this dream or the control of this, or being able to recognize, I have choices.
Yeah.
Shifting our point of view instead of letting go of control, looking at our choices. For me, I can't imagine facing any of this without my spirituality.
Yeah.
My faith, if you want to call it faith, it's my spirituality. So we're going to be talking about that today because to me, it is woven into everything in everything life. And I want to clarify though. There's a couple things I want to clarify when we talk about spirituality. First of all, spirituality is not fluff and feel good all the time.
Yeah.
There are certainly moments of it, but spirituality is work.
Yeah.
It requires practice like anything else. It requires searching and changing views sometime. I mean, it's not fluff.
Right.
It's not all feel good for sure. And it isn't the same as religion.
I like that.
Now, one may enhance the other in your life, but you can be religious and not really have a spirituality.
Yeah.
And you can be spiritual and not have a religion that you that you are affiliated with. Religion is a personal set or institutionalized system of religious attitudes, beliefs, practices. There's services, there's worship, there's books of scripture, there's there's rites and rituals, and they're all associated with that and different observances. It's often so that is religion.
Yeah.
Our churches, our temples, our mosques, all those usually are associated with a religion. And what I know is a lot of people have been hurt by religion, different denominations, different things. The United Methodist Church, of which I've been a part of, just had a huge split because some did not accept the LGBTQ community. And so it can hurt. People. Yeah. It can hurt. Yeah. And if you've been hurt, don't give up on spirituality.
Yeah.
And also there are places that accept.
There are. Everybody.
Spirituality, on the other hand, as I see it, it is the experience of connecting to something larger than yourself. For me, I may call that God. I may call it the universal energy, the spirit. There are many names that, and I invite you to experiment with some higher power you often hear, right? Yeah. So, but it's that. It's something that is so internal in you. I can be associated with the United Methodist Church, but I may not believe everything that they say.
Yeah.
I'm to believe. But my spirituality may inform me of something different. Right? So it's my personal experience, and I'll share some of that later. One in particular. But it's, if I'm sitting outside and there's a beautiful sunset and it touches me deeply and I feel a sense of beyond, of God, of whatever that may, that's my personal experience. The person sitting next to me may feel nothing and think nothing. Well, we didn't have the same experience. You can't argue with my personal experience. Yeah. You may think I'm wacky, but you can't argue, and so there's a reason also that we're calling this podcast The Incomplete Guide. Yes. Because I'm still incomplete. My spirituality is, everything continues to grow. Yeah. I just wanted to put that in there.
We're all still growing.
Right.
I love that. So, tying in, and I like that distinction between religion and spirituality. There is a difference. So we're hitting more home on the spirituality side of that.
Definitely.
So take that into consideration.
That's what we're looking. Yeah.
And how you can kind of use that sense to help you let go of control and stuff. So I wanted to, because we're going to get in your experience, my tiny little experience for my absolutely tiny little bit of life that I've had.
But you know what? Yeah. Okay. That's fine. You haven't had a tiny bit, but I know. I get what you're saying.
So I just remember growing up, structure was it. That was my life. I loved it. And I know as a parent, I'm sure that was hard.
Yes.
Post-it
notes
everywhere. And then, I think we even mentioned this on the podcast earlier too, but there was that one point where it's my sister asked me to go to the movies, but we didn't plan it the previous day. Yes. So I was like, no. Yeah. And so then that began my family's attempt to get me to loosen up before I went to college. It was great. And so I had to really, and I did learn, because, you're just around your peers, and that kind of helps you learn to go with the flow a little. Right. And then, but I'm somebody that has always made a plan or a goal or something for my future, and I've gone for it, whether that's, okay, well, I want to be a conductor, and the way that I do that is to go and get my piano degree, and then I can, and so, it's I just made my steps towards that goal. And I mean, it's not like I still don't love music, but I'm choosing to do another path now, and I'm starting over, and my life is like totally upended at the moment. And so I'm having to work really hard on letting go and letting go of like the illusion of control. Really, is like trying to let go of like, okay, I can make some choices in my life, but I truly cannot control everything with what's going on. And so it's like, now I have to let it go. And another part is I've had a lot of anxiety too throughout my life. I wasn't like diagnosed growing up, but I definitely am sure I dealt with it a little more than usual. And then after Charles, I dealt with it a lot.
Right.
And so, and anxiety is also, it's all about control. You get so worked up in it because you're trying to control so much of your life. Yeah. It's like directly tied to that. And so, yeah, a lot of my own personal growth work right now is a lot on that letting go. And I think like this chapter of my life is going to set me up. Like if I can do the growth for that now, it'll set me up for like more success later. Yeah. So that's kind of, so I'm in the middle of it. I'm like,
you are in the throes right now. Yeah. And I can't help but think, because yes, you've always planned. And I read Condoleezza Rice's book one time.
Oh yeah.
And I think she's written more than one. It's called something about ordinary, extraordinary, ordinary.
Oh yeah.
And she was a pianist.
Yes. Yeah. Concert pianist.
Yes. And she had thought that was going to be what she was going to major in. And she was starting that route. And then she realized there were some that were so much better than her. She would not make it.
Yeah.
But she could teach. She thought, well, no, that's not what I want to do either. So she ended up
doing politics.
Well, she ended up taking, it was at Boulder, studying Russian.
Oh,
Russia.
Yeah.
And Russian, the language.
Yeah, the language,
all of it, right?
Yeah.
And so she,
got her into,
there she goes, and, Secretary of State and on and on. And what was interesting is she never gave up her music.
Yeah.
She always practiced, no matter what she did. When she was at Stanford as the provost there, she did the same. And she ended up playing with Yo-Yo Ma before the Queen. Who would have predicted when she stopped that major? You don't know what unfolds.
Yeah.
She still enjoyed what she did, and she went with that. And I think, talk about unfolding.
Yes.
And going, okay, different paths. You would never know.
No.
So
anyway. That's like my little experience. And so then as we go through this episode, you're not in the throes of it at the moment. Well, who isn't always in the throes?
If you're in life, you're in the throes of something.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway,
so I don't know if you want me to jump into some questions or if you want to talk first.
Oh my. Okay.
You can think about it.
I will just tell you one of my experiences.
Okay.
That formed was a jumping off point, I guess.
Yeah.
I was set to go on a retreat. It was a 5-day. It's called Academy of Spiritual Formation. It's through the Upper Room Ministries. Really cool thing. They have 5 days and 2 years programs, all kinds now. But anyway, I was set to go to a 5-day. A friend of mine had something come up, and so she could no longer go, and so I had to go. Or I didn't have to go. She asked me if I wanted, and I felt pulled to go. So I was all set to go. 2 days before I was to leave, our house got robbed.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody was home.
Little.
Yeah. And I drove by the house to pick up mail before I went and sat in the carpool line. And I noticed there was a light on that is never left on because we never use that room in the morning. And so I thought, and I opened the garage door and stuff was kind of a muck in there. So anyway, bottom line is we got robbed and it was scary.
Yeah.
And so I was afraid. I was really afraid to be at home at that point.
Yeah.
Thinking, God, somebody comes, you don't know.
No.
But so I left for the retreat, and after I got there, I thought, I've got 5 days, and if I can't be present for this retreat, I'm wasting it.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking about home and how everybody's doing back there, are they getting the front door done? Are they doing all that stuff? And so I went and I sat. Of course, it's a Christian camp, so what Christian camp doesn't have a lake and a cross, right?
You know it.
So I was sitting on a bench.
I'm literally thinking of the ones I've been to. Right. They all have a lake and a cross. Do.
So I was sitting on a bench at the lake, and I thought, in my way, I prayed. I thought, I want to be able to be present. Allow me to be present here. And I had a vision at that moment.
Oh, cool.
And I remember I held onto the bench a little tighter because the vision was of, I'm from the Christian faith, so I'm assuming my vision included Jesus.
Yeah.
It didn't look like anybody. It was just this vision of a
person,
shadow or whatever, walking on water. And literally rose up with him, and you can walk on water. And I thought, the heck?
The heck? That's funny.
No, I can't. And I held onto the bench tighter so I wouldn't really think I could. And I just remember, and he said, yeah, what is that? What was he walking on? He's walking on faith.
Yeah.
So you can walk on faith. Mm-hmm. Vision went away. I remained on the bench, dry. And from that moment, I was never afraid to be in my house again. Alarm, no alarm, didn't matter.
Yeah, you never cared.
I really had a fantastic time at that retreat. Mm-hmm. And that was a vision. And the reason I say that is, and the reason I'm sharing it, I didn't share it for a long time with people, and I don't share it often, but if you have an experience like that, it's mystical.
Mystic, yeah.
And it's not wacky.
Yeah. No.
It's not whacking. It's how it is things that happen. Now then, I have to put this disclaimer on there because if your vision includes hurting yourself or hurting someone else, that's a cry for help. It's not that. And the National Crisis Hotline is 988. Mm-hmm. And you can call anytime.
Yeah. This is
what I'm talking. I'm not anything that involves harm of anyone.
It's not,
including yourself, is not what I'm talking about from the spiritual aspect.
Yeah,
that is something different. Mm-hmm. To me, it's just simply a call for help.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I share that because from that time I was able to let go. I was able to go. And I periodically in life when things have come up that seemed overwhelming, I remembered that and go, you can walk on faith, on trust, knowing that you're supported by something greater than yourself.
That's so good.
And you can't know how things are going to turn out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I share that.
That is so good.
Yeah.
I love it. So maybe your retreat that you went on had some, but what are some spiritual practices? Like, what do different spiritual practices say about how we should let go of control? Like,
I don't know how we should.
Yeah, and I guess in this question, I'm thinking like, I don't know if you looked into anything like what Buddhism says.
Right.
What, it's like.
Yeah. No.
It's okay.
One of the things, because spirituality is so individualized.
It's so personal.
And
personal.
Yeah. But what I know is that. Have you ever been in a stuffy room or house that's been closed up? And if you just crack a window...
It's amazing.
It's amazing, right? You feel a breeze. And that's my theory. That's what I think of spirituality. If you're closed to religion, if you're closed because of harm or whatever it may be, if you crack a window and say, I'll be open to the mystery...
Yeah. Yeah, it breathes in.
It breathes in life.
Yeah,
in a different way.
That's such a good visual.
Yeah,
I love
and
that.
It's not like you're throwing yourself wide open. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think with religion, people often get scared of exploring other avenues.
Yeah.
I had a professor in religion that said, God, as we called it then, called God, we still use that term. Or I do, is broader than you can ever imagine. And if you're questioning and you're looking over here, you might find something beautiful in that tradition. And you can bring it back with you to your center.
Oh, I love that.
And then if something isn't for you, you're still tethered. And if something is not for you, you'll know and you go, oh, I'm not really there. Somebody else may be.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I'll come back to my center.
Yeah.
And so your center gets broader and more diverse and beautiful to me. It's kind of like a garden. If all I had was one type of flower, well, that's all I'd have.
Yeah.
But a garden's made up of many beautiful and variety of things.
Because I really like to use like I love Thich Nhat Hanh, and just
Yes.
I mean I love it because it's just so steady in like the nature visuals that they give you for how you should like move through life and let go and like have like you don't have to have that sense of control all the time, like just the way that that
yes,
religion tends to talk about
it tends
discipline,
to the discipline. It tends to focus on the present moment. If I'm worrying about the past, and we talked about this last week, I think it was, that then you're focused on that and you might miss here.
Yeah.
I liken it to the grocery store.
Yeah.
If I go in with my list and only my list, and I go exactly, and I know the grocery store because most of us go to the same one all the time, and God forbid they ever change up the aisles. But I go and I just pick them up and I leave.
Yeah.
If I go in wondering what else I could find there, I could probably find a few different ingredients that might be fun to use, or some new chips or candy that I like. Yeah, who knows what I will find if I go in open.
Yeah.
But if I'm not looking and I'm not seeking, then this is all I'm going to get. It's the exact same thing I will always get.
Yeah. So,
So I think that the idea of why do I have to be afraid or closed off from other things?
Yes.
That's how I learn.
So I'd love to boil it down.
Go ahead.
So
boil it down.
It could be a hard question.
Okay.
So let's say maybe we've convinced our listeners to let in some spirituality into their life. How does that help us? Or what can we foster from it, or something to help us with this sense of letting go?
With this sense of, okay.
Yes.
Well, I think my personal experience, right? So that was once. Yeah. Not everybody has those, right?
Right.
But if I can trust a little bit.
It's that trust. Yeah.
If I can trust a little bit and let go a little bit and open myself up just a little bit, then that's the start.
That's right. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
How does it help us? For me, I think it really boils down to believing in something greater than yourself. If all I think about is myself, and I rely on my will power to do anything, there's a term limit to that.
Yes, you're just gonna get burned out.
I can't hold that. The other thing that I think about of trusting that mystery, is our attitude toward things.
Yes. Makes a big difference.
Yeah. If I'm driving and somebody, is going slower than I'd like and I get angry.
Yes.
What does that do to me?
Yeah.
Nothing, except for make me more angry. Am I looking for the possibilities and the hopes of things, or am I always looking at the negative?
Yeah.
So, there's something to looking hopeful versus looking toward the negative.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought of this idea that, because to me, since I'm just such a planner, this idea of like not having any sort of manipulation over what you do and choose to, I mean, but you do, and you do. So I was thinking, it's like, well, it's almost like I more sent an intention for my life and an intention of what I want to do. And I feel like intention sounds much more flexible, It does. It's like, because those can change. And so you have this intention, but we can really only control us. And if other things happen along the way, then that's what happens. But it's like you can have an intention for your life while still feeling this sense of, I don't have to control everything.
Right.
I don't know if you have a better word, but I came up with intention.
No, I like intention. Yeah. I use that often. Yeah. Is that when I'm feeling, I have, okay, this is what I do.
Okay.
I set my intentions and I put them out into the world.
Yes, you do.
Because I think that the universe, the energy of God, whatever that may be, works.
Yeah.
And I have encountered people along my way of setting intentions to do something.
Yeah.
And when I do an intention, I had an intention of writing a book, and I set that out there.
And you did.
But I didn't envision that book.
That's true. It's a children's book for Charles.
Yes, I envisioned something
We'll
else.
link it so you
and
can
I still
find
hope
it.
to do that. But my intention is to write. And I ended up writing, and it was like, oh, okay, this wasn't the vision of my intention, but that was my intention.
Yeah.
Right? And so setting yourself out there, some may call it praying, a prayer for that intention. It's all that.
Yeah.
But to me, there's a book that I will put the link out to. I just finished.
Okay.
It's called The Surrender Experiment by Michael A. Singer. And it's not what you think of surrender. It's so different. He takes a very extreme point at one point. But he decides, I'm going to try this in my life, this of surrendering to the opportunities that come.
Oh, man.
And not and saying yes to go, that's really not something I want to do, but okay, you can stay at this house for a while, and it's just, it's really an interesting read. I think it's a current book, but he's talking about the 70s is when he was starting out on this journey. But anyway, funny. It really is a good book. And I think that's part of it is trusting the mystery.
Yeah.
And being okay with not knowing. We're a society where you Google everything and have
and you
answers.
Can know everything.
And everything seems concrete. But to go, what if I don't know?
Oh.
What if I don't know? Because we don't.
And being okay and sitting with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know if that.
No, that's so good. And then, so my other question was like little steps that we can start taking. But I don't know if some of the books you have might also like give you little steps or if you have, So I have a couple books that I have. One is by Henry Nouwen, Life of the Beloved. And he wrote it to a friend who had no faith or didn't have faith and wanted him to try to explain it to him. Yeah. And I love it because basically what he says in a beautiful way is that we are all beloved. We are all truly beloved. Yeah.
And what is within us is good and beautiful.
Yeah.
That made me think of one of the ways that I start, and I would trusting beyond is, and this is the scripture that I use from the Bible. I bet in every.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something similar.
But mine is from Psalm 139, and I've read that for 6 months at a time before.
Yeah. And
I just stop on whatever hits me. But it's about being known by God.
Yes.
And it's not
such
being,
a good one.
I know you. It's, I know you.
Yeah. In a loving,
beautiful
in the most
way.
Loving way.
In the most loving way. Mm-hmm. And there's nowhere you can go from me.
Yeah.
Nowhere. I'm with you. And so that's a way of starting, I think. Anyway, and then Everything Belongs by Richard Rohr, The Gift of Contemplative Prayer. And he's a Franciscan
a monk.
A priest. And he's written, and he has a very broad, and almost everybody that I recommend has an understanding and appreciation for every religion.
Yeah.
This isn't the right religion.
Right.
So if you're not going for that, that's just where I'm at.
Oh, this is a good
An Altar
one.
to the World.
I love that book.
Yes, by Barbara Brown Taylor. She writes in a wonderful way, and that you can easily read it. Mm-hmm. And she was Episcopalian, I believe. Yeah.
And it's basically
she taught. She was in a church and worked in a church for a long time, but then she teaches. Yeah. And it's called A Geography of Faith, and it's finding that spirit everywhere.
Yeah, and that would be, I think, a good one if you want some like concrete ways to try and be more spiritual and like have that trust and let go of that control. Like that would be a good book to do that.
And I think, beginning ways of simply at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, I'm going to look for something greater than me today. I'm going to see where this divine energy is flowing today.
Yeah.
You may find it from a teacher that was kind. You may find it from a neighbor who stopped to say hello. You may find, you just don't know.
Yeah.
And some people just call it kindness, and that's what it is.
Good. Yeah.
But it's, where do you see the divine? Because I truly believe that we all are, we have the divine within us.
Yeah.
We are the creators.
So, yeah, I think like some last thoughts, having spirituality and cultivating that is like, it helps with the letting go to me. Like if I didn't have it, I think it'd be much harder for me to just let go of control, because if I don't think that there's anything else out there, then it just feels like I have to grip so much tighter onto my reality, you know? Whereas if I think, oh, there's something else out there, I don't have to worry about every little thing.
Yes.
You know? Yeah.
And even when things aren't going as we planned and they're very hard, and I've walked in some very hard places.
Yeah.
And if I turn my eyes at all, I will see grace. I will see that along with this pain, there's somebody that cares.
Yeah.
And I think those are gifts that we receive, right? And the other thing about living in the mystery, we are so used to, well, anybody that went to public school or private probably too, you took tests and there were right and wrong answers.
Yes. Yep.
And you prepared for them, so there you were ready. Well, some of you prepared for them. The rest of us just kind of flew by the seat of our pants. But we don't know where life's going to take us.
Yeah.
It's not a test. Sometimes there are choices, multiple.
Yeah.
But there's not. And I was reminded of this when I went to see my dad, who is 90 years old.
Yeah.
And he lost his sight. I've mentioned him before. And so I went there and Paul and I went to visit him last weekend or so. And he had told me, he said, you know, a lady whose husband is his table mate when they eat, there's a couple men there, she made him a bib because he just kept spilling. And so my dad, who can't see, doesn't know if he gets stuff on him. So she kindly made him one. And he so proudly told me that he wore it. And I'm like, things you never thought you'd hear your dad say. That was it.
Yes.
And so I, this last week we were there and we took him out to eat. And his bib hangs on his walker.
Yeah.
And so it was just there. And so when we got to the restaurant, he had ordered some steak and some soup. And so Paul looked at me and goes, bib? Oh, yeah. I said, Dad, would you like me to put on your bib? And he said, yeah, that would be a really good thing to do. And the way he said it was with dignity.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought, that's the way I give it. That's the way I put it on him, with dignity.
Yeah.
That's not a life that he ever imagined or ever wanted.
Yeah.
But he is adapting to it, to go, I'm still alive. I'm still me.
Yeah.
And I'm going to live with the gifts that I have.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been easy. But I watched him and he's made such progress. But the way he received that, I thought, how dare I think anything, but he is still my dad.
Yeah.
And he is still carries himself. And so that's to the end of life, right?
Yes.
And I think so. I don't know what is going to unfold before me.
Yeah.
But I pray that others are going to be with me.
Yeah.
And that I will see God in the smallest of things, in a bib.
That's right. In a bib.
Who'd have thought,
my gosh.
right?
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So good. So we'll link all the books for sure, and we'll link your book. I'm going to do it.
Oh, yeah. I can link
Yeah. So hopefully you guys kind of, give this some thought and how you can implement some stuff
if you
in your
have
life.
questions, please.
Oh, yeah. Please let us know.
Yeah, I'd
you
love
can
to hear
DM
from
us
you.
on Instagram or message us
Yeah.
or email, whatever. And make sure to follow. And we do have a YouTube channel. If you were on our YouTube channel, you got to see our cat Sadie come in for a second.
Yes.
If not, then that's your
Cat.
then that's your note to go and check us out on YouTube.
She makes a visit each week, I've noticed.
She sure does.
And
Then next month, we're doing another theme. This helps us keep more centered too. The theme of like our voice and how we use it.
Yes.
We'll also kind of do an episode that applies to your professional life too, how you use your voice, your personal life, to yourself, all of that type of aspect of vocalizing yourself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be exciting. We're going
to
hopefully be using a book, I think.
Yes, Crucial
Conversations, which is a fantastic book. So
yeah, and have some conversations with people that really, really know how to use it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So look forward to next week when we take a breath and take a listen.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of An Incomplete Guide to Personal Growth. There are many ways you can stay connected. Follow us on Instagram at An Incomplete Guide Podcast, where you can sign up for our email list and get posts that delve deeper into our weekly topics. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast page wherever you listen to your podcasts. We would really appreciate a rating and sharing us with your family and friends.
We're so glad you chose to spend your time with us and hope there was a thought, a resource, or a laugh that you can take on your journey. We'll be here every Tuesday for you to take a breath and take a listen.